In this video, I'm going to show you how to write a really good answer if you get an exam question about ribosomes. So we'll look at what ribosomes are and why we need them. I'll show you how to label a ribosome on a diagram of a cell in case you get asked to do that in an exam. I'll also give you some revision tips to help you to remember key facts, and I'll give you some model answers that you can use if you're going to answer an exam question about ribosomes. So welcome to BioSmash. I'm Jo, I'm a science teacher, and I hope that by watching this video I can help you to smash your biology revision and improve your grades. So let's get started and look at what ribosomes actually are. Hopefully you recognise this diagram of a cell and you know that these are ribosomes. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, you might find it helpful to watch this video, which revises the different parts of cells, and I'll put the link below. So the first rule of ribosomes is that if you hear the word ribosomes, you need to think of the word proteins. When I was revising, I used to try and make up little stories to help me to remember key ideas. You might want to try this too. Let's try making up a story to help you to remember the role of ribosomes. The shape of ribosomes always reminds me of snowmen. So let's imagine a snowman and call him Ribo. Ribo likes to build things out of his building blocks. So our ribosome is a similar shape to Ribo. And just like Ribo, our ribosome takes in building blocks. But instead of building buildings, our ribosome builds proteins. And the building blocks that the ribosomes use are called amino acids. So you can see the protein that the ribosome has made is built out of amino acids, just like the building is built out of bricks. So ribosomes build proteins using amino acids. Try to remember this key sentence so that you can use it in your exams. When we build something, this is called synthesis. So when a ribosome builds a protein, this is called protein synthesis. To help you, I've added some little check-ins to this video to help you to make sure that you've understood key ideas. So here's the first one. See if you can fill in the blanks in this sentence. So ribosomes build for the cell using this process is called. So I'll give you a few more seconds just to see if you can think of the answers. Now here's the answer. Did you get it right? Ribosomes build proteins for the cell using amino acids. This process is called protein synthesis. So if you can remember this sentence, it's a really good one that you can use in exams and hopefully score lots of points. Well done for finishing part 1. Now we'll have a look at how ribosomes build proteins. So hopefully by now you will remember that if you want to build a protein, you need to build it out of amino acids. So here's the building blocks. You join them together, or the ribosome joins them together and builds a protein. And just like when we're building with bricks, the way that we arrange the bricks will determine whether we build a house or a castle or a boat. If the ribosome puts the amino acids in a different order, it will build a different protein. So here you can see it goes triangle, square, triangle, which is the start of protein 1. And when we look at protein 2, that starts by going square, circle, triangle. So by putting the amino acids in a different order, you can build a different protein for the body. Have you ever played with a Lego kit? You get a very specific set of instructions that you have to follow, and it tells you the order in which to arrange the bricks to build a specific building or character or vehicle. Well, the instructions for building a protein are stored inside the nucleus, which is labelled on this diagram of a cell. And as I've mentioned in my other videos, the nucleus is really just a hollow ball that's floating around inside the cell. And if you look inside the nucleus, you'll find that it contains this material, which is called DNA, or genetic material. We'll look at this in a later video, but DNA contains genes, which are instructions for building proteins. So we can think of each of those genes as one recipe for making one particular protein. So when we go back to our ribosome, the ribosome reads a gene, and that instruction tells the ribosome what order to put the amino acids in to build the protein, in the same way that your Lego kit, you follow the instructions and it tells you what order to put the bricks in to build the building. Now you're doing really well to have got this far. So this leads us on to the question of where amino acids come from in the first place. So you probably know that we get our protein from our food. So food like eggs and beans and fish contains a lot of protein. So here's a molecule of protein that's entered your body through your food. And once the protein gets into your body breaks it down into amino acids so that it can reuse these building blocks to build a protein that your body needs. This breaking down process is carried out by something called an enzyme, and in your body you've got lots of enzymes that act like scissors to chop big molecules up into smaller ones. So when an enzyme breaks down a protein, which would be a large molecule, it releases this little small molecules that are amino acids. So by doing this, it's releasing amino acids that your body can use as building blocks. This is like when Ribo knocks down his building so that he can reuse the building blocks to build something else. So well done for making it this far. Now we'll have a look at why we actually need proteins. So there are 3 different reasons I'm going to teach you, and these are ones that you can remember and write about in your exam. So we already talked about how enzymes break big molecules down into smaller ones, but the enzyme itself, the purple bit, is actually made of protein. So one reason that your body needs amino acids is so that it can build enzymes. Another reason we need proteins is linked to microbes or germs, and these enter our body and make us ill. You might have already learned that our white blood cells fight microbes by shooting bullets at them, and these bullets are called antibodies, and the antibodies are a protein. So that's another reason that your body needs to make proteins so that it can make antibodies. So here's a picture of the antibodies working. So this is your second example of a protein. So antibodies are made of protein. Now our final protein is linked to insulin. Insulin is a hormone that's made by your body when you eat food with lots of sugar in it. And insulin tells your body to store the sugar that's in your blood so that you can use it later. So as I said, insulin is a hormone, and hormones are also made of protein. So we now know 3 examples of proteins that your body makes. Your body makes hormones, it makes antibodies, and it makes enzymes, and all of those 3 things are made of protein. I'm going to make some revision videos about white blood cells and enzymes. When I've done it, I'll link them below. So depending on when you're watching this, they may already be there. In this final part of the video, we'll look at how to answer exam questions. You might want to go back and rewatch the earlier sections before moving on. I've got 4 exam style questions for you. Here's the first one. Explain why your body needs protein. So it's a 3-mark question. You should be able to think of 3 examples, 3 things, 3 proteins that your body needs to make. And I'll put the answer up in 3, 2, 1. So here's the answer. Our bodies need protein so that they can build hormones, they can build antibodies, and they can build enzymes. Now, you might not have learned about those 3 different things yet. However, you can just remember this key answer and write it in the exam, and it will make more sense as you learn more biology. Learning key phrases that you can write down in the exam is a really good way to revise. And to help you, I have developed this resource. It's made up of 3 different levels working through keywords and their definitions that you can memorise. If you want to have a look at it, go down to the link below and visit the shop. So it's time for our next exam question. This time, I want you to label a ribosome on the cell diagram that I will show you and explain why this cell will need ribosomes. So here's our diagram of an animal cell. The first thing you need to do is imagine drawing a line and labelling a ribosome. Where would you put your line? The second thing you need to do is think of a sentence that you could write in the exam to say why this cell needs to have ribosomes. So think of an answer, and I'll put the answer up in 3, 2, 1. So here's the answer. You can see the arrow pointing to the ribosomes, so you could label any of the brown ribosomes. And the sentence for 3 marks, you need to say that ribosomes are building proteins, so 1 mark for that. They build proteins for the cell using amino acids, so another mark for amino acids, and this is called protein synthesis, so you could get a 3rd mark for that. So the last 2 questions are asking about a specialised cell and why it contains so many ribosomes. So here's a picture of our first cell. Do you recognise it? It's a white blood cell. It's making a molecule to stick to the microbes. Can you remember what that is? It's called an antibody. So see if you can now think of a sentence to explain why a white blood cell would need to have ribosomes in it. And I'll put the answer up in 3, 2, 1. So your answer should look something like this. So white blood cells contain ribosomes to build antibodies. And they're building antibodies for the cell. And you need to say that antibodies are made of protein. So that's a key line that you can memorise for your exam. If you've mentioned amino acids and protein synthesis, that's even better. I just couldn't fit them all in. Let's finish off by looking at this specialised cell. Do you recognise it? It's a sperm cell. So you don't really need to know this bit for your exam, but you can sound extra clever if you do. So the head of the sperm cell actually has to have enzymes in it. And the reason that the sperm cell has enzymes in its head is that when the sperm cell gets to the egg cell, it uses the enzymes to try and make a little hole in the egg cell so that the sperm can get inside and fertilise it. So see if you can think about why a sperm cell would need ribosomes. And I'll put up the answer in 3, 2, 1. So here's an answer. So sperm cells contain ribosomes to build proteins for the cell from amino acids, and this is called protein synthesis. And if you want to be really clever, you could write that the sperm cell contains enzymes, and enzymes are made of proteins, so they're built using ribosomes. But as I said, it is a really tricky question, so don't worry if you haven't got all of that. As long as you remember the key fact that ribosomes build proteins, they build them out of amino acids, and that this is called protein synthesis. If you can write that in exams, you'll really impress your science teacher. So well done for reaching this point. We have covered loads, so you might need to go back and watch it again, write down the key phrases and the key sentences and learn them to use in your exam. And you might want to check out some of our other videos, and together we will smash your biology revision.